What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He's Cam Underwood, managing editor of State of the U. I'm Brian the Beast London. You can follow Cam at Underwood Sports on the X Machine. You can follow me at Miami Radio Beast. It's been a couple of weeks, Cam. I was down and out with a respiratory infection and lost my voice. Now I am inflicted by allergies, so I cough every 3 seconds. Awesome. It's just been a fun time. It really has been. It's been so fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I know you invited me to go to allergy and laryngitis Ville with you. I elected not to do that, so that's a journey you can take on your own. A solo trip, as it were. But, I'm glad that you're back in, at least a semblance of fighting shape so we can hop on the mic.
Well, you let me down. I just want to put this out there. Yeah, you let me down a little bit. I texted you because you are someone who, for the better part of your life, has used your voice in singing.
Indeed.
And I figured you would have some sort of amazing remedy to help me get my voice back, right? Because I would think in the singing circles, there would be some chatter about some home remedies that might help in this case. And you're like, drink some tea, take some ibuprofen, call me in the morning. And I'm like, that's not what I was looking for, Cam.
I get it, but, ask a question and get an answer, whether it's the answer you want or the answer that's there. Honestly, for, laryngitis and things like that, hydration is key because especially in your vocal folds, obviously the human body is 80% water or 60, 70, whatever the percentages, but that helps to, circulate everything and helps the regeneration. And honestly, your voice is a contact muscle. I'm not going to get into the physiology of it. You guys can go look it up, but you create sound your vocal folds are like these and they come together. There is contact. And so itis being, Latin for inflamed or whatever, that's just the root of the word. And it's sometimes you have to stop using a thing. If you had, whatever, if you had biceps tendonitis, you're not going to keep going to the gym and lifting, right? So you had laryngitis, and unfortunately, your whole voice is in a 1-inch cube, but you need to rest the itis. So I said, hey, drink some tea, take some ibuprofen that's going to help with the pain, and go on vocal rest. And I had to do that after several Miami home games in college because I would be in the student section screaming way louder than a vocal music education major should have done. And I learned it through there. Sometimes you just got to have a nice cool glass of STFU and let your voice get back. And that's what you had to do.
Now, just so you and I are on the same page, I want to key you into a broadcaster secret, which I actually did not try because I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to shut it down. I'm not going to try to make this any worse than it is.
Okay.
But rumor has it, if you gargle vinegar, it can help you get your voice back for a couple of hours, enough time to be able to do what you got to do, and then, figure it out in the long run.
Yeah, there are those things, but obviously looking for the longevity of it, I think that the vocal rest, and obviously, I know it's protracted in terms of timeline, but your voice is back now. But yeah, sometimes you just kind of have to sit out, relax and wait, and things like that, just so that the muscle, because it is a muscle, so the muscle gets back into usable state.
Speaking of relaxing, Miami Hurricane fans are not relaxed, Cam. They are still in their feels because local star running back Derrek Cooper did not commit to the U. He is heading to the Lone Star State. How should we feel? Should we be upset? Should we be shocked? Should we be surprised? What do we know? Help me get through this. I don't know what to do with myself.
In terms of the questions you just asked, upset, yes. Shocked and surprised, no.
Okay.
To me, upset because he's another elite player that you're watching go somewhere else. So, obviously it's a different offensive position, but it's the same thing as, all of the receivers who have, been on the first thing smoking out of South Florida since forever. Look, you're looking at Calvin Russell going to Syracuse. Jeremiah Smith is on the cover of the new CFB video game, who was a teammate of Derrek Cooper 2 years ago, and Joe DeTrader and all those boys. You know what I mean? So, you can just add, this is another superstar player from here who's going somewhere else. So upset, Yes. Shocked and surprised? No. It was readily apparent that the game of recruiting was afoot, and the tides were turning, and the sands were shifting, and whatever other analogy you want to put in there. When he came out a couple weeks ago and said, "Yeah, I'm going to postpone my commitment announcement. Like I'm not going to announce right now." That was, that was, alarm bells start going off, things like that. Because like up to that point in the mid-end of June, Derrek Cooper was coming to Miami. Like it was widely and well known in the recruiting world. So the only reason that he could have postponed is maybe I'm not going to do the thing that everybody knew I was going to do, which ended up being the case. I've seen, read, and heard other places people talking about, well, Texas, they're on this heater in recruiting now, but they had actually lost out on a couple of guys previously. And in this new NIL era, if you do not secure the services of that recruit, the money that you have allocated in your budget to them, you can then reallocate somewhere else. And henceforth, therefore, there was a purportedly substantial reallocation in the direction of Derrek Cooper. I'm not going to sit here and say that Texas is not a top tier team and like they don't recruit well and like there's no reason to go there, but you have all those equal reasons. And from the top of this recruiting class, we've known, or this cycle, I should say, Derrek Cooper was at the top of Miami's list. So we're going very strong with the financial commitment. We're doing all those things. So all things being equal, you probably stay home. Texas said, let's make things unequal then. And there, Bob's your uncle.
So people see Miami, for lack of I don't know how else to phrase this, got beat out on an NIL deal, outbid, whatever you want to call it.
Pretty much.
And get upset. But the reality of the situation is, again, you really have to look at this in almost like a salary cap kind of way or a slotting kind of way, like you would in professional sports. And there's just going to be a point where you have to, where you are not going to be able to give someone a certain amount of money once you get to a certain point, or else you are hurting yourself on the other end of being able to attract other recruits or be able to afford other guys on your roster. In a way, I think.
I do, but like, I know that, people have noted, like, even with Texas on this heater now, earlier in the cycle, they did miss out on a couple of guys. When was the last recruiting battle that Miami won? I know that we flipped, the Jennings kid from Jacksonville, from Michigan. Okay, great. Got it. Cool. When was the last other recruiting battle that we won? Like all these announcements through the summer have, whether it's Georgia, whether it's A&M, whether it's Texas, whether it's Florida even. Well, I mean, you're looking across the board. Maybe the tight end from California, right? Maybe. But like, if you're talking about, okay, we had money allocated for recruits and then those recruits decided to go elsewhere so we could reallocate those funds. If you look at the list of players that have not chosen Miami in the month of July, really, there should be plenty. So,
you know what? I'm sorry. I did not do justice to my thought process. I meant to include portal players in that, right? Like as a whole, not just recruits as in freshmen, because I think the one area that Miami has excelled at is attracting portal kids, especially Cam Ward, Carson Beck, what have you. I think they've done a good job there.
Yeah.
And again, that all comes out of the same bucket as far as money goes. Now, listen, I don't know the particulars of the Derrek Cooper situation. All that I know is probably what you know is that Texas spent a lot of money for Derrek Cooper, right? That's kind of what we know. So that begs this question.
Yeah.
Okay. What does that do to Miami and the running back position? And two, is there something to be said about Mario cannot get things done when it gets to the summer months?
I mean, in terms of running back, you have Javian Mallory, so you need to keep him in the class. And then
True.
Either you keep trying to ford the river, and just keep in contact with Derek Cooper and hope that down the line you flip him like you did Jordan Lyle, like you did Mark Fletcher, like you've done other guys in previous years, even at that very position. Or it's the end of July, time to start expanding that board, and yeah, and then so okay, these are the options in my mind. One, you keep plugging away on Derek Cooper and or Jay Lamar, who committed to Georgia, who was also had been down for an official visit. So you keep plugging away at committed guys or other committed guys to try to flip one. That's one. Two, you expand the board and start looking at other options, or circle back, spin the block on guys who you decided, okay, we have our top three. We're going to focus on those top three. Thanks, but no thanks. Maybe you circle back on those / expand the board. Or three, you change the paradigm and say, hey, we're going to take one this year. We're going to look for another one in the portal, especially because we just got Marty Brown from North Dakota State. So that gives us the ability to only have one high school recruit and then move forward. I think those are the three most reasonable options in terms of running back and continuing to build the roster in the way that he desires. The proof is in the pudding. However, in the last 2 summers, in July, Miami has not done well in recruiting. I know it is objectively true that Mario Cristobal is an elite recruiter. He is, one of the best head coaches at recruiting, period, full stop. We have the number one player in America, Jackson Cantwell, committed from the middle of nowhere, Missouri. You know what I mean? So, we got Hayden Lowe, 5-star. We've gotten Justin Scott, flipped him from Ohio State. We, flipped, Marquise Lightfoot when we got him from Chicago, who's another 5-star. You can look and say, okay, he's attracted and gotten this time. Reuben Bain, who everybody in America wanted. Francis Mauigoa, that you can say and show year after year. Cameron Ward, number 1 overall draft pick. He's probably not going to be the number 1 overall draft pick, but Carson Beck was probably a top 5 returning quarterback in America. Maybe top 10, but probably closer to 5. You know what I mean? So, he does the job in terms of recruiting, but when it comes to these consistent heavyweight bouts that end at this time of the year, the last couple of years, the results have not been positive in Miami's favor. And I don't understand it, because we start so strong in May and June. You would figure a pebble turns into an avalanche, right? Because that's what had happened in other places. If you look in Columbus, if you look at Ann Arbor, if you look at Tuscaloosa, if you look at SC, if you look at Clemson, if you look at these teams, Georgia, that recruit really well, one begets the rest. So I would have thought, and I'm with a lot of people, Jackson Cantwell, that's not even a pebble. That's a boulder coming down the mountain to start this avalanche. And it was and then it just fizzled out to nothing. I don't understand why it is the way that it is when a lot of the big time recruits commit before their senior year in July. The last 2 years, Miami has been left holding the bag more often than not.
It's amazing how when we get to spring and recruiting, I see all sorts of, bicep flex emojis all over my timeline. And then when we get to July, it's like wilted flowers everywhere. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. I don't know what happened there, but okay.
I mean, time and time again, even Justin Scott, to prove the point, when it came time for his commitment last year or 2 years ago now, in July, from Chicago, Miami was widely thought and known to be the team leading his recruitment. He commits to Ohio State, and then, like I was, talking about could be possible as a potential path forward for Miami with Derek Cooper, they continue to recruit him and flipped him later on in that year. But even a 5-star guy who's on this roster and going to start this year didn't choose Miami at this window when most of the elite players are now making their commitments. And I've been critical of the recruiting process and saying, okay, well, it seems like we're updating some things, especially with winning the Jackson Cantwell recruitment and things like that. We've changed some staff. We've updated some processes, things like that. I think that there's further reworking that needs to happen so that, just this empty July when, again, a preponderance of blue chip players make their commitments doesn't happen year after year after year, even though we're already 2 years into a seemingly, could be even 3 if I thought back to the previous cycle of, consistent. I mean, lack of success. That was the judicious way to say that.
There you go. All right. We will definitely have more on this in the weeks to come, even though we'll start to get focused on camp and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a storyline that I think will continue as we track the ins and outs of Miami Hurricanes recruiting, something to keep our eye on. But what I had my eye on over the last couple of days is Miami up at the ACC Kickoff, and got to hear from Mario, got to hear from Carson Beck, got to hear from CC, got to hear from Akeem Mesidor, Wesley, and more importantly to me is hearing some of the questions that were being asked.
Ooh.
Right? Because I think that just tells you where some of the media's head is at as it relates to all those involved. So I want to discuss that on the other side and more. You're listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. Welcome back to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood. He's managing editor of StateOfTheU. I'm Brian the Beast London. You can follow Cam at Underwood Sports. You can follow me at Miami Radio B. Speaking of StateOfTheU, there is some great position previews at StateOfTheU.com. You need to go check it out. Doing a great job there, Cam. Got some good content.
Hey, man, appreciate it. Yeah, they actually finished those. So I'm just looking because I was otherwise occupied, but cornerback and defensive tackle up in the last couple of days. So I was working on a couple of other game previews and position previews, but we have those and plenty more. We're going, in a not haphazard, but in a round robin kind of a way. So we will get to all the other positions and everything. But yeah, please come and, fan with us. Check all that out. StateOfTheU.com. We got even more coming for you. Today that we're recording is a Wednesday. So tomorrow, on Thursday, there's summer scheming. Justin DeTavio, who's a longtime football coach, he takes a look at the X's and O's of one of the opponents. I forget which one we are. I think it might be SMU. Rhett Lashley, a throwback to prior Miami coach. So, and we've done a self-scout of Miami already, and then all the games prior to SMU for summer scheming. So all of that and more, just click away, StateOfTheU.com.
All right, so Cam, I don't know how much you took in from the ACC Kickoff and all the pressers and the questions and the sessions. I sat through a lot of it, especially the Carson Beck stuff, because I want to try to get to know him more because he's new into the program. I think
if you were to return his Lamborghini to him, he would sit and break bread with you. That's a good way to get to know him. Right?
No, that would be 1 point. Okay, so let's start with Carson. Yeah. I find him to be super confident, but not. I thought that I was going to be turned off by his confidence, but then I just kept watching. I'm like, no, I mean, this guy knows football. This guy's he's been in big games. He played at a big program. Like he's got a right to be confident. Like he's seen some stuff. So there was that. And then I think the other thing is I was a little put off by some of the media questions because there's been this kind of thing, dark kind of shadow over Carson Beck that he brings some sort of bad juju. And I wasn't feeling that. And I didn't really appreciate the questions he was being asked around that. And I guess I don't know. I kind of know why that is, but I feel like forget with whatever he's done in the past. It's a brand new slate here at Miami. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I mean, it is for us, but not necessarily other people in the media. And a thing that has been pervasive is the pendulum has swung way far to the Carson Beck is trash side of things. He is, it was entirely his fault, the failings of the Georgia offense last year. He did, threw too many interceptions. He blah, 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 blah. Like he can't win big games. He can't play well. Go look at the statistics You know, this is a guy who threw for well over 7,000 yards and 60 touchdowns in 2 years as a starter. All of these things I'm going to say are objectively true. Georgia, actually, I need this one statistic. I thought I had it, but I want to be sure that where's my, thank you. Let me see, conferences, SEC, rushing offense. I was correct. Last year, Georgia's rushing offense was second worst in the SEC conference, 15th out of 16 teams. The only team with a lower per game average was LSU. It was one of, if not the worst rushing offense that Georgia has had in 30 years, right? Their offensive line, though they recruit incredibly well, was average at best. And, you know, coached up by our old friend Stacy Searles.
Yep.
You know, so their offensive line, they got a bunch of monsters out there. Like, you know, look like Tarzan, played like Jane. They don't do the job. The running game was terrible. Excuse me, I got eyelash in my eye. But
you're good.
You know, so the offensive line was bad. The running game was atrocious. And Georgia dropped more passes than any team in America for hundreds of yards, and I think it was somewhere between 7 and 10 touchdowns if they would have just caught the balls that hit them in the hand. Like, what about that is Carson's fault? Now, and
it's not.
All of the failings of that offense have been described to him individually. I know that he played terrible games. I know that first Texas game? I think. Hold on, where is it? Passing, Carson Beck, game log. That first Texas game was deplorable. 56% completions, 175 yards on 41 throws, no touchdowns and 3 picks. In prime time, you know, ABC television, everybody saw it. I get it. I get that there were more interceptions last year than the year before. But when I tell you that their offensive line was atrocious, that their running game was second worst in the SEC and worst that they've had in 30 years, and his receivers, while being wide open, Arian Smith is a track star. He's a runner, but he cannot catch a ball. He put the ball on the ground so many times that Carson Beck threw directly where it needed to be. All of those things are objectively true. And I know that Georgia didn't win, and I know that, you know, under Kirby Smart, they've elevated from where they were with Mark Richt, and they have won national championship and things like that. But yeah, it's just putting everything on him, and then the SEC-focused media bias of he elected to leave Athens because they didn't want him to go.
Correct.
He decided to leave. So then you have the backing of everybody in the media saying, oh, so since he left, we're now going to make him persona non grata. We're going to put him into the place of being the villain, and we're going to continue to perpetuate that. And I believe that is what you saw and what people are using as a foundation for some of these shenanigan questions about.
Yeah, Carson. I mean, Carson addressed, you know, there was obviously, because of course, a lot of some Georgia media that showed up to ACC Kickoff to go talk to Carson Beck, and he addressed that, like, yeah, Kirby Smart sat me down and gave me every opportunity to stay and wanted me to stay, and this was my decision. Like, it wasn't there was no, Georgia did not kick me out. Like, they wanted me back,
and I left. Bye.
Right? Yeah. It was my choice to leave. And, you know, from everything that he said, he's vibing with the receivers. He's vibing with Shannon Dawson. He loves Mario Cristobal. He loves the offensive line. What's not to like about it?
It's better than the offensive line that he left in Athens.
Correct. So, you know, I don't know. Listen, we'll do our season preview and like our predictions and all that stuff. I may not be as I may not have the rosiest prediction for win-loss total as other people, but I don't see this as I don't see Carson Beck as being any kind of a weakness or having some bad juju that is brought to the locker room or what have you. Every time I listen to him, I hear an intelligent, confident kid that really knows football and is been through a lot. And he's a guy